Okay, so I'm
Oh,
gonna
there's
respond
Frank.
to.
There's Frank.
Okay, so here we go. Okay, so the Oregon Section Club Youth Development Initiative, and you all know who I am. Our problem is a big and immediate one that youth is the future of ham radio. We sit and talk amongst ourselves. We don't, well, for a group of people that likes to talk, we can be quite insular in those groups. Somebody we speak a weird language, a lot of us, and other people will just look at us after listening to us for a little while, cackling amongst ourselves and not really understand what we're talking about. And the ability to convert that language into something that other people can understand is actually quite the skill, especially when it's kids, because the stuff we do is actually really cool. But if we talk in a language that they can't understand, then they don't bother to go any further. Um,
Hmm.
if you have kids, look at their world like I do, and tell me how they can find us. Right? There's there's so many things out there. There's so many options that they have, but most of them are Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. Does anybody here have an Instagram, TikTok, or Snapchat account? Anyone?
No,
Okay. I have an
I'm a
Instagram
Luddite.
account. I have an Instagram account. All right. So that means I also have a Facebook account, but that Facebook account, if you ask any kid today, Facebook is for old people. All right. That's what my kids tell me. Facebook is for old people. Remember when there was no Facebook? Facebook is for old people. If you want to get to kids, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. So we hope they can find us, but we don't have the luxury of time and figuring out how to do it. So how do we fix it? Well, if you were a kid in the 1950s and 1960s, you probably knew somebody your age who had a ham license. And that is how you got involved in ham radio, right? The way that I got involved in ham radio was that my dad had a coworker who grew up in the 1950s who went through that process, and he exposed me to ham radio, and that was my entry point. But most kids who were 15 years old did not have a guy named Chuck to go visit and see his Collins S line in action, right? This is not something that was a common thing. Whereas back in the 50s and 60s, you knew one kid who had a station, then somebody else would get licensed, someone else would get licensed because it was the cool thing to do back then. Ham radio is no less cool than it used to be, but there are so many other distractions available that it is hard to keep them interested in this. It's hard, it's easy for them to find ham radio, but they don't see why. So we have to show them why. So where are these kids? Well, they're at school, they're in the scouts, they're at the YMCA, they're on the web. A lot of them are gaming. So Russ, raise your hand, Russ, and wave. That's Russ. And Frank. Hi, Frank.
Hey,
There's Frank.
I'm trying to figure out how on your system here that how to see everybody. So I can't see everybody, but if you can see me, here I
We can
am.
we can see the lower 2/3 of your face, so that's good. Okay,
How's that?
there we go.
Better.
So, oh, it was better when we only saw the lower
Yeah,
2/3,
yeah,
right?
really. Go back to
Yeah,
where you were.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure that's
All right. Okay, so Russ and Frank, we are somewhat unique in all the different ARRL sections in that we actually are blessed with two youth coordinators, and they are N6, N7QR and KB7NJV. And interestingly enough, um, when I became section manager, I've known Russ and Frank for I'll say years. And when we had that first meeting of all of us, they said, well, we're the section youth coordinators, but we don't have anything or anyone to coordinate. Well, so my reaction was, well, let's go find you people to coordinate, because a coordinator with nothing to coordinate is, idle hands. And we don't want that. So because an ARRL section has schools, scouts, and youth groups in it, an ARRL section is also too big for any two people to manage, like Russ and Frank. I mean, Oregon is 150,000 square miles, and there are hundreds and hundreds of high schools within the state of Oregon, and more middle schools than that. Lots of scout groups, lots of scout troops, lots of youth groups. There are multiple YMCA's. So they need somebody to coordinate. So, so the thought was at that point, and we started talking about this almost a year ago. You know what we really need? We've got all these clubs. Oregon has 47 clubs. And it would be nice if all 47 of them sent somebody to this meeting. I know that's not the case, but it would be nice if they did. That, this is because this is your chance. This is really your meeting. I'm going to shut up at some point and let everybody talk. So the goal, we figured, well, you know what? There are all these clubs and active hams, people who like ham radio often find their way to clubs because that's where they can find other hams to talk to and interact with in person. The thought was that with those geographically disparate groups, it would make sense that the clubs, which are kind of like smaller units than the entire state, would be able to deal with and manage and coordinate youth activities within a particular region. So let's make section youth development officers. And those would come down at the club level. They should come from our clubs. Again, we have 47 clubs. ARRL, we have someone named Steve Goodgame, who's our educational director. We also have Mike Walters, who is in charge of field services, and we have their support. There's a lot of resources available to us. We are an official function of the ARRL. Active hams belong to clubs. Again, clubs are often local in scope, and they know what's going on in their home area way better than Frank or Russ or Max or I do. So, skill set of a section a youth development officer from a club, able to relate to youth. All right. It doesn't mean you have to be young, but you do have to speak their language, right? I'm lucky enough to have, or lucky enough to have a 16-year-old and a 22-year-old. And some of these kids, they really do speak a different language that, we don't necessarily relate to very easily. They're also very, very distracted. Not that we weren't distracted as kids, but think back to when you were a kid and all the things that were going through your mind. Kids today have 10 times more things going through their head at any given time. It's a wonder to me that any of them can focus on anything. It requires patience. You have to be able to sit and wait for them to come to you, because sometimes going to them doesn't really work. Have to be flexible. Every kid's different. All those different things that are available to them affects every single kid in a different way. Every school is different. I know for a fact that we have in Eugene, we have the 4J school district. We have 3 high schools in 4J. We have 1 high school in Bethel. We have 1 high school or 2 high schools in Springfield, and all of them have completely different flavors, completely different methodologies. They all have a different vibe about them. So it helps to be flexible enough to get to, if you're going to go talk to them, to kind of understand exactly how things work in that school. Enthusiasm is a key. You have to be ready to do this. You also have to be ready to accept frustration and defeat sometimes, and to be resilient enough to say, okay, well, this isn't working now. Is it okay if I come back in a month and maybe we can do a physics demo with you, in physics class or something, as part of your physics wave theory part of class, for instance. Understands youth protection protocols. Russ is part of the Scouts. I'm also a Scout, Boy Scouts merit badge counselor, although I have to check and see if my credentials are still valid right now. I think they are, but I just got a note that said that I'm no longer listed, so I don't know. I have to check on that. But Boy Scouts went through a whole series of youth protection protocols. If you're going to be working with the schools, working with kids, working with the Scouts, you're going to have to undergo background checks as needed. You also have to be responsible enough to handle a lot of this stuff on your own. You can ask for help. We are happy to help. Everyone's happy to be a part of this. But by and large, if you say to the kids, "Hey, I'm going to come in to this class at 3 o'clock on a Thursday," and you pick a day, you're going to show up at 3 o'clock on a Thursday to do your class, to do your demonstration. Possible things that you might end up doing. Meet with other people who are the youth development officers from other clubs, right? That might be every 3 months, like we're doing here. It might be off and on. There's somebody in a neighboring club, and you're working with them and putting together a joint project. Elmer people, Elmer kids. Find an Elmer if you don't know the answer to that. Again, there's one of the words that you just go talk to somebody and they have no idea what an Elmer is, right? We throw it around. I think everyone in this meeting probably knows what an Elmer is and has been an Elmer at some point. So basically, you turn into a teacher. Develop relationships with schools, develop relationships with scout troops, arrange events such as demonstration, on-air events, fox hunts, kit building, launching of a Pico balloon with a packet transponder on it, for APRS. Working with groups of kids that can form a club. That could be something to do at the Y. It could be something to do in a scout troop. It could be a high school club or middle school club or even a college club. They're still youth. Working to develop individual hams, making sure that the ones that become hams stay engaged. I mean, obviously they're going to be busy, but make sure that there's stuff going on that is accessible to them. They don't just feel like they're being left to hang in the wind and figure out everything on their own. If you're in a geographic region, give them a job. give them some tasks, give them some goals. Put together some events, invite kids from schools, invite kids from the scouts, invite scout troops. There's a jamboree on the air coming up. Is there not, Russ?
That's right. The October 18th, be there, be square. It's the largest scout thing in the scouting world.
So there you go. That's a perfect example of such an opportunity. Operating from somebody's shack. One thing that's nice about hams is that hams typically have a lot of stuff. If you don't have a lot of stuff, you very likely know somebody who has a lot of stuff and a really nice station. You might be able to arrange a trip to their shack where the kids can operate with a really big antenna. This is actually, I've done this and it's a lot of fun because I don't have particularly potent antennas, but I know some people who do. And you put a kid in front of a radio and you give them 100-foot tower and a big opti beam on top of it, and they can talk to anybody anywhere and have the biggest signal on the band, and it's a pretty cool thing. There's room for significant creativity. That's one of the reasons that we're having this meeting, that you're going to have a chance to talk to each other and come up with ideas. So fall 2024, school's just starting right now. It's a good time to start something. Our next meeting is today, as you see. We've contacted club officers all around the section. Like I said, it would be nice if we had 35 of the 47 clubs. I know that's not really, that's more of a pipe dream, but you got to hope, right? And we have asked via email, via a lot of emails, for club officers to discuss at their club meetings the fact that we have this incentive, this initiative that we're trying to roll out, and to mention at their club meetings, we really would like somebody who would like to take this on, as a volunteer gig. And actually, at the Valley Radio Club, where I'm a very active member and have been for the last 20 years, I had somebody who's a relatively new ham come over to me and say over email and then in person, you know what? I want to do this. I'm active with scouts already. I know everybody in all the school systems, and I have time to do this, right? That's exactly who we're looking for. Somebody who's really just wants to jump in and take the job. Measures of success, quarterly meetings, a chance for everyone to talk, annual report, number of youth participating, looking for upward trends, looking for definitions of success. I mean, if you if you actually create a school club. Let's say you manage to create a school club somewhere, and it becomes a self-sustaining club where, you know, you try to maybe arrange somebody to teach classes. You arrange somebody to give exams once a quarter or something. You work it out with the school that kids can actually get credit, for instance, extra credit in a physics class if they get their ham license, things like that. You know, that's the kind of creativity we're looking for. So that's us, and I will shut up now, and we're going to open the floor and let people express what they're thinking, good ideas, bad ideas. You know, this is a,
let me expand a little bit too on that. There's really about three things that I'd like to say. One is the clubs are really key in this because they are closer to the ground than anybody else is. You know, the ARL can give all they want to lip service on this, but it's the clubs who really are going to do this.
Plug in.
And if they a couple things that measure success, a lot of these clubs are doing VE testing, and it would be nice if we kept track of how many kids passed the test and then were able to either join the club or become part of the ARL. It would be nice. And the two initiatives, as I see it, is one is getting the youths involved, and that's really the low-hanging fruit. The kids who are already licensed, make them part of the club and keep them part of the club and keep them interested. The second half is sort of an outreach. Again, going out to STEMs. I've had a couple teachers, somehow they find me and they say, hey, can you come in and give an hour talk during physics, you know, on radio? And no problem, no problem. That's a little bit harder because even if you explain radio, not all of them are going to want to get a license or whatever like that. But there's other things we can do also. And Frank and I have talked a little bit about that too. The ARL's got a couple good programs. One is School Roundup. That implies that there's a school club. And there's also Kids Day. But again, that's not necessarily licensed kids, but it does expose kids to radio. And then the other big thing is we're looking for maybe a little bit more too, and maybe this is about the time to start, to have something at maybe the county fairs. And we tried for the state fair, but that sort of blew up in our face. But maybe we can do that at the county level, which is again a little bit more local, and key it to, usually on a lot of these county fairs, there's the police are there, you know, they have a little bit of a display and things like that, and coordinated with that, perhaps through Aries. You know, a lot of these counties have Aries trucks or whatever. Bring that in such that then we can have a little bit of outreach. So that's really the thing. The first thing, again, is the low-hanging fruit. If we can keep those kids that have gotten a ham license interested in the clubs and stuff like that. And again, it really has to be from the low level, from the clubs. It's not going to happen from a section level, but it's going to happen from the club. So if we can get somebody in each club interested and have a office that says, yeah, I'm the guy who's going to screw around with the youth, you know, let's do that. And I'm sorry to say, I've had some big disappointments too. We used to have up here in my scout district a venture crew that was all hams, and they used to run all the camporees and things because they all had handhelds and everything like that. But keeping a venture crew is kind of hard because sure enough, they're ready to go to college. They go to college and we never see them again. So you know, that sort of blew up after a couple of years, but that was a really great thing. They age out, you know, and it's hard to, you know, they go off to college, you know, you don't see them for 4 or 6 years, you know. So,
well, can I bring something up real quick? So I was in the as I am every month, because I'm the off-campus advisor for the University of Oregon Club. I'm part of the ARRL CARP group, the Collegiate Amateur Radio program. And for instance, we were listening to clubs do their Show Me Your Shack day yesterday. Show us your shack. And how are things going? How has your club been doing? And there are clubs out there that have said, we're struggling, we're trying to find students. And there are others where, for instance, the University of Michigan, and there was one other one, I think it was Case Western. They each had 100 new hams last year licensed. 100. So, these kids, they came from high school. They are there to become hams. They just don't know it yet, and we haven't found them yet. That's kind of what gives me hope that, we can do this. Frank? You're muted, Frank.
We can't hear you, Frank. We just want to make it a little bit more formal so that we have.
If my lips aren't moving, I heard the first time when somebody said I was muted, and I'm just reaching for the button, so you should be able to hear me now.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So yes, Scott, what?
No, just give your spiel.
Well, I think unfortunately I had a conversation with Russ this afternoon, and I told him the things that I was going to bring up, but he's just gone through all of them.
Okay.
He's left me with nothing particular to say. I've never had my thunder stolen so
effectively.
Adeptly.
Yeah. Okay.
But let me just there were the two things. I'm sorry, my connection failed for a little bit there, and maybe Russ actually invited me to chip in. I don't know, but these two events that ARRL does each year, the School Clubs Roundup and the Kids Day, and there are two of each of those every year. So it would be 4 events. I have the dates for those, and I can give them to you if anyone wants to have those dates right now, or you can just look them up and look up ARRL School Clubs Roundup.
Hey, Frank, go ahead and stick it in the chat if you get a chance.
Okay. You can just look up, just look up ARRL School Clubs Roundup or ARRL Kids Day, and you'll get the whole thing.
Okay.
The rules, connections to the rules, and everything, and that, you really would have you should do that if you're interested in it. So that gives four. Am I still with you?
There you go. School Club Roundup.
Yes, there you go. So that gives 4 target events. School Clubs Roundup also happens to include, it's a week-long event. You can operate it for as much or as little as you want with your people. But that week also includes Oregon's birthday, which is February 14th, which is also a Valentine's Day if your kids have a more romantic bent. So there's that. And then as Russ said, we were talking about seeing if the different clubs could get their county fairs this next spring and summer to have them in there, what they call here at Salem, something like, Heroes Street or something at the county fair. A lot easier to work with the county fair than with the state fair, and they're more flexible and interested in finding people to participate in their fairs. So
we're going to beat them over the head. We're going to beat them over the head about that next year.
And I'm available. I'm available at Gruber Frank, at KB7NJV at ARRL.net. Should get to me. Russ is also has I believe an ARRL.net router address as well.
We'll send it out to everyone.
N7QR at ARRL.net. So that's I'd like to get a list of all of the club youth officers who are designated as they become designated. I know Russ would like that as well.
Well, we're going to need to put that together, and
Yeah.
it's a small but hopefully growing list right now.
Scott,
And
have you sent out that series of screenshots that you just used as we were going through, as you were going through your
I
your,
will. I
your-
haven't to this group, but I will.
well, that would be useful. Yeah, thanks. Okay.
Okay. Max, you got anything? We're just going through the Russ and Frank and Max and Scott thing, and then we'll open the floor.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of great ideas, and there's a lot of ideas that we try and they don't seem to work very well. I've been there, done that. And every area is going to be a little bit different. So I'd like to see, you know, if when we meet again for these quarterly meetings, if you have something that you've tried that didn't work or you tried that did work, let us know, because this group is a really good group to come up with best practices. Or, you know, I say best practices as if they would work everywhere, but you know, we can always give something a try. And I'll give you an example. I for about a year and a half, every Thursday night had a Zoom session, and I just called it Beginning Ham Radio. We advertised it on our website, on Meetup, and we got, you know, anywhere from, you know, 15 to 30 people every week, week in, week out. Most were in the area, in the Portland area, but we, you know, we had people join from out of state. And I just picked a topic that was relatively, you know, like, what's your first handheld to buy, or what are PL codes, or what are Maidenhead, you know, squares. And we talked about that so that I would always have something to talk about if there was a lull in the conversation. But there were a lot of questions, and a lot of young people came. I don't know if it was because it was on Zoom and because it was electronic and they felt a little bit better, you know, going to something like that where you're not driving somewhere and seeing a room full of old people or people you don't know. So that was really successful in my area. I'd love to start it back up again because I do think that it helps recruit younger people for our club. A lot of these people that did join us ended up joining our club. So it'd be something that, you know, when I get some more time back in my schedule, I'd like to start up again. But there's an idea that you could think about, because what I see in my area at least is a lot of requests for Elmering. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in-person Elmering, because that can be a lot of work for both the Elmer and the person being helped. So Zoom is great. But anyway, so that hopefully next time when we get people on the list of our youth coordinators for each of the clubs, and there doesn't have to be just one. You can have more than one. But I think let's start talking also about, like, what have you tried, what works, what doesn't work.
Okay. And by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, Max is our affiliated clubs coordinator. He is your contact point between the section and the ARRL and all your clubs. And he was also, are you the vice president of Park?
I'm not on the board right now, so, but I'm still helping a lot of the people who are.
Yeah, that was one of the things on my list. You know, I said, you know, if a club really wants to be a ARRL affiliated service club, one of the things they should have to have is a youth coordinator, somebody who's sort of looking after the youth. Again, we're not going to make that a requirement, but it would be nice if every club had somebody who at least was thinking about youth, such that when they had field day or when they had some other outing, even a picnic, for cry I, that somebody's thinking, oh yeah, we want to have youth there, and this is going to somehow engage those people. So it just seems like we're leaving a lot of people out, and we want to sort of get very inclusive in getting those people back in the mainstream.
Mark has his hand up, and Frank, did you have your hand up too physically?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
All right,
So-
Frank, go ahead. And
Well,
then Mark.
I just wanted to note that when we're looking at places to contact young people in the scouts and in the schools and the other things that you listed earlier, Scott, that a key one of those that I don't remember seeing there, and I know everybody that Scott has made use of this to great success. I have had at least one good success, and that is with our children and grandchildren, depending on our age. Now, Scott's young enough to be my son, I think. So his daughter, Hannah, was young enough to be my granddaughter. And Scott's had good success getting both Hannah and his son as well into being licensed. I long ago got my 3 kids who are now grown and older, middle-aged, into Hemming, but now I've got my 2 young granddaughters licensed, and at least one of those is a very enthusiastic operator. So I don't know if the others of you here look like you're of an age where you'd have baby grandchildren. I know Russ does. And
Yeah, I got all my kids licensed, but the grandkids, we're still working on them.
I mean, that gives you kind of an in, you know. Hannah, Scott's getting his daughter Hannah into ham radio.
He's going
Gives him a channel
She's
to
going
get into college age students and
going to
earlier
Tuvalu.
into high school age students.
She's going to Tuvalu with me.
To what?
She's going to Tuvalu with me.
Well, that's great. But what I'm talking about is she's a channel
Yes.
for making contacts with other young people. They're not just looking at some old geezer.
Right.
Like when I was working with Willamette students, it was difficult because I'm an alumnus from long before they were ever born. And it was very hard to make the connections. I mean, they wanted to be doing things with role-playing games and that sort of thing. And who's this old guy? But if you're talking to friends of your kids or friends of your grandkids, to maybe a lesser effect, you have an entree into that conversation with them.
All right. So what we're going to do is, I know Ken has his hand up. Mark Tharp. Where'd you go, Mark?
I'm here.
Show your oh, there you are. Go ahead, Mark.
I should be here.
Yeah, you're there.
Russ mentioned something. We actually have a club subcommittee tomorrow, subcommittee meeting. Get all the words in the right order. Tomorrow night. And I will throw that on the agenda items to maybe look at modifying that special service club requirement moving forward. At least we could talk about it.
That would be
I wouldn't
great.
say
Well,
we need to do it for everybody in the past, but
I-
maybe as a forward-looking
I-
idea.
I don't know that it should necessarily be required, but I think it should. One of the things that I talked with Mike Walters about, and you can bring this up, is that I thought it would be good if that was a like a
recommendation.
a posted position, you know, an appointment. Like,
Yeah.
you know, youth club
Yeah, 'cause
development
it's-
officer.
It's not in there. That
No.
that position came after all the SSC stuff was in
That's
there.
right.
So we need
So
to
I
look
mean,
at that.
I would love to, you know, we like, for instance, there's a section, there's a public information coordinator and public information officers that the public information office coordinator coordinates. There's a technical coordinator who coordinates technical specialists. We have in this case, two section youth coordinators and nobody to coordinate. Because there is
Right.
no position, and it wouldn't be that hard. Maybe it would, I don't know. But Mike said, you know, at least we could talk about it. So if you
Okay.
want to
Well,
bring
good.
that up,
Yeah, he knows about it. I'll throw it out there too. I'm not 100% sure I'll be at the meeting. Our county decided to have some kind of communications meeting tomorrow night, so I'm flipping coins on which one I'm going to go to.
Okay.
But
All
I'll
right,
probably be at my committee meeting. So anyway, I'll bring that up, Russ.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ken. You're muted, Ken. And also, what club are you with, if I may ask, if you have an affiliation? Well, you're still muted. He's still muted. I'm hitting that ask to unmute button. Sometimes just the space bar does it. But not in this case.
Well, while we're waiting for him,
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm with the Portland Club. I'm the vice president of the club.
And that's Park.
Yes.
Cool.
Uh,
You
took
must know
over-
Max then, and Dan.
Took over Max's job this past year.
And you know Dan too.
Apologize for coming in late. I had a conflict. We had a field day this year and I was coordinating that. And I reached out to, a half a dozen of the local scout clubs to participate in field day. One of our members got qualified to do the radio merit badge, advertise that. I got 0 participation from the scouts. I was very disappointed, and I'm wondering whether anyone had experience getting the scouts out to events.
Yeah, one of the things you can do, the scouts, they're always looking for Eagle, and one of the requirements for Eagle is you have to have the merit badge emergency prep. I think it's an alternate, but the emergency prep comes in there, and it's one of the ones that they can use for Eagle. And sure enough, one of the things in that emergency prep is to participate in a simulated or actual emergency, and field day counts as a simulated emergency. So one of the things you can do when you go to the scouts to say, hey, we're going to sign off on your ability to participate in a simulated emergency if you come to field day. And that's what you can do. But I haven't had much luck with that either. Even the radio merit badge is sort of there's only 2 types of merit badges, the easy and the Eagle required, and radio doesn't fit into either one of those. So, but see if you can do JOTA. JOTA is the biggest scout thing going, and we're going to have it out at Merriweather. I don't know if you know Merriweather out on the coast, which is a gigantic camp, and they're going to have Weeblos Woods there. And that's been a success for me because this is the first time they're going to have Weeblos Woods on the same weekend as JOTA. But usually when we have Weeblos Woods, I set up a station at the Weeblos Woods, and I usually run all the patrols through there. Usually they have some kind of contest. So the patrols come through and I give them points if they can answer radio questions or if they get on the air or whatever. And I usually put them on the air. So that's usually what I do. And I've had varying success. I mean, I've put like 50 kids on the air on one weekend. And out of that, maybe 2 say, oh yeah, I want to get the radio merit badge. And not only that, I want to get a radio license. So how do I do that? And, I give them the whole spiel.
Yeah.
But it's true. A lot of these scouts are busy doing other things. They're doing scout things. So, you sort of have to peel them away from that to get them interested in radio. But you find those ones who are, let's say, STEM interested or are geeks, and
it was, I remember, when I'm an Eagle Scout, and, through my scouting, that's where I learned Morse code, that was.
Yeah, matter of fact, my brother-in-law would be an Eagle Scout, except for the fact that he couldn't learn Morse code to get the first class, the first class scout. So I don't know.
I have the impression that scouting is struggling. Our local
it is because
said they had 2 scouts in the troop.
Yeah, scouting has gone I won't say it's gone downhill, but it's certainly taken a step backwards because some of the churches, specifically the LDS churches, pulled out, and that was a significant portion of the Scouts. The
Yeah,
other problem is too, they've gotten much tighter, and Frank and I talked about this a little bit today too on our phone call. To participate in like a Weeblos Woods or something like that, they now require you to be registered, and you have to go through youth protection and yada yada yada. You got to go through all these hoops
Yeah.
just to show up, which is a real pain in the butt.
Yeah.
It's such a pain in the butt. It's, in my mind, hardly worth going to. But if you invite them to like a field day, you know, they allegedly come with their leaders, and you know, you can put them on the air or whatever, and you don't have to go through all that rigmarole.
yeah. I was just surprised out of, that we just got nothing out of 6 invitations. It was,
Yeah.
just-
Well, we'll tell them, go to the leaders and say, hey, we're going to have an emergency prep
yeah, that's a good
badge
suggestion.
thing here, and
Yeah.
you guys, because doing a simulated emergency is a real big thing for them, and here it's all set up. All they got to do is show up and you'll sign off on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Anybody else? Well, okay. Max had it. Actually, John T.
Thank you. This is the first time for me to be here. Also like to introduce Carol on the screen there, raising his hand. We are from Prineville.
Long time listener, first time caller.
No. In fact, I'm not sure how I got on the list here. Max might be guilty there. I'm not sure. Somehow somebody got my email. We've been working at getting a club started here, but we don't know what we're doing, but we don't want to be late doing it. What we've done so far is last spring I got involved with the school administrators, and they are all for a club. They are complete buy-in. The school board and at least one administrator, the assistant superintendent, and we got involved with the activities director, and we're a part of what they call Career Day at Crook County High School. And so we were able to be placed outside next to the search and rescue trailer, where one of our hams was taking kids through that trailer, the command trailer, and then she would shove them right out the back door and lead them right over to our booth, where we had a couple of stations set up, and we're doing some voice communication and also some digital communication. And it was a lot of fun, as you might guess. Some of the kids were like, "What's ham radio?" They had no idea. They were interested, however, in oral scholarships if they were going to college, such as that. But also, we're planning a field day here on the 21st here in town or near town, where we're just going to do our own little field day exercise out here outside of town at a park. And we're just going to be doing it. We don't know who will drop by, but that's a popular walking and bicycling area. So we're hoping some folks might come by. We're trying to do that to make ourselves visible in the community. Okay, because ham radios. I mean, I'm in my shack right now, and you see how many people are in here with me. Lots of them.
I have something for John.
So, okay, go ahead.
John, you're in Prineville.
Yeah.
Do you know David Freitag or
Yes,
Freitag?
I'm getting to him.
Okay, all
Keep
right, go
going.
ahead.
Dave is a local VE, and he is excited and anxious to have a class full of kids to teach. He teaches classes, and he's a wonderful guy. And but he also licenses and teaches a lot of our search and rescue people. And one of those recent licensees, whose name is Leland, is also an employee at the school district.
Excellent.
Conveniently enough, he's the head of maintenance. So Leland is a great guy. He's part of search and rescue, but he wanted to get licensed because our search and rescue team over here makes heavy use of ham radio, because our ham repeaters outdo the sheriff's equipment. So that young fellow down there, Carol, he's right below me on the screen, on my screen, but Carol is a genius on the radio, and he does a lot of relay work for the search and rescue, and he also keeps a log of everything they do. So he was on hand for career day, and the students were able to talk to Carol considerably. There's another fella here. I'm not sure if Ron is the other guy that's here, but I tried to get him on. I was a little late getting the link, and I sent it out to various people.
There are
And
two
Ron was
There
one
are
of them,
two
but-
Rons listed.
Yeah, I know, and I don't know if either one of those is my Ron or not. But anyway, Ron is another fella that he very smart guy, but used to work for NASA. You know, low level work like that kind of stuff. And Raytheon and stuff like that. But anyway, some local hams and I are working on this project. So if you looked over behind me, you can see that radio back there. Some of you might recognize that radio. That's an old Heath kit. That was actually donated by someone down near Staten, Almsville, and that was donated for our club if and when we get it started. I don't know if it's the right radio to put in the hands of a high school kid, but we'll see. It's my understanding that Ron has gotten with someone in the school district to apply for a grant for equipment if and when we get this thing rolling. And finally, I was going to talk about Dave, but that's about it. But I just wanted to introduce ourselves mainly to the group. I don't know anything about you guys. and I got the email from Scott, and I appreciate that, Scott. Had to look you up on QRZ to see who you were. But and I've heard of Max, and I think Max might be the one that I contacted at some point, and he may be guilty as charged for turning me into Scott. So with that, I'll yield back to Ned here.
So is there a club out there, or I
No.
mean, no, there's
No,
Di-
the
Duke's
closest
Club,
thing
or-
is the closest thing to it, and geographically, is the Hydarg group out of Bend.
okay, which I
But,
know
but that's a full blown club
Right.
that it's not necessarily a youth club.
right,
And
right.
What I've tried to do here is some of us meet locally for coffee every week on Wednesday mornings at 9 o'clock downtown at a coffee shop. And we often talk about, gee, it's too bad there's no young people, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm a young guy. I'm 71 and I'm the youth group.
So
There.
so are you guys also members of the Hydarg group, or?
No, I'm not. I don't know if Carol is or not. We generally don't see or hear from those guys too often, but once in a while.
Okay, well, I know Max pretty well, so I think he's the president now. So other Max,
The other Max,
so,
yeah.
other Max, yeah.
KF7MAX, yeah.
So have you considered? Do you have enough hams in Prineville to form a club, or? It takes 4.
Go ahead, Carol. We don't have that many youth hams.
No, just a club.
There
No.
is the Ochagona Amateur Radio Association, which operates the local repeaters here in Cook County. But there are just a couple of officers that maintain that. That's all. They kind of disassembled the members, as it were. So
They own the repeaters.
yeah.
Okay.
Other
just-
than that, no,
just-
there's nothing official.
Just curious, because I know, John, I've got you on my mailing list, and I think because you contacted me, I mean,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
there are 47 officially affiliated clubs in the state of Oregon.
Okay.
Some of them are really in name only. A lot of them are not. I mean, a lot of them are, pretty big, or not particularly big, but have a very active, an active population. So, let's see. Who else wants to go and talk about whatever's on their mind? This is a good open forum. Gary, I hope you're feeling better, Gary.
Yeah, I actually haven't felt too bad all this time. Got a nice clear result of COVID after our last. I just want to talk about some opportunities. Kids like making noise, and if you can have some inexpensive Morse code key kits, that's an opportunity to get kids involved. They love banging on those things, and they love making noise, and they love sending their names and so on. Another opportunity would be getting in with a robotics class. typically they're already using Wi-Fi or something to control their robots, and of course there's remote control aircraft and all that, and ham radio. Some of that can be configured to use ham radio, and then you have a much better range. The other thing is demos at schools. What you have to do is interest the teacher. Teacher has to see what you're doing somewhere or somehow, and then that teacher has to invite you to the class so you can talk about ham radio. And of course, once you get there, you want to talk about connecting to the ISS and all that kind of stuff. Show some downloaded images from the ISS, things like that. That's all I have for tonight.
Okay, let's see, Max.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, one thing to keep in mind when it comes to attracting kids to ham radio, I always remember to start with the low-hanging fruit. It's fine if you want to try to go into schools, talk with teachers, get into the STEM class, all that kind of stuff. It's probably successful, but it's going to be a heck of a lot of work.
Yes.
Make sure that you concentrate on the youth that are already enthusiastic. So as an example, as a club, you should be finding the local testing VEC and make sure that the testing VECs are sending you the contacts for the people, the youth that have recently passed their test, or have them send an email on your behalf or whatever, inviting them to your club, or inviting them to your youth-oriented activity. So, yeah, don't go after the hard stuff first. Go after the easy stuff.
Well, I'd like to hear from Chris, K7CHW. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, I'm lurking.
You're lurking. Okay, well, let's hear what you've been doing. You're with
Radio Amateurs of the Gorge, RAGS.
RAGS, that's right.
Yep. I am probably the youngest person in the club still. I don't think that's changed. I've not got either of my 3 children licensed. So
I still have that offer for your daughter. She can be a public information officer if she wants to get her license.
I think she's more focused on using her newly acquired driver's license and the fact that she's a senior and on the wrestling team.
Okay.
So we're working on it. Oh, no, that one thing, it seems to be that I think we're in the right direction. I think we just need to figure out how to get there with doing things like Instagram and whatnot. But yeah, it's how to actually draw them in. That's what I can't get. Like, I can get my kids to look at it for a second, and then it's like, I'm gonna go do the other thing.
Yeah, back before social media, it was easier. You could say you get your driver's license when you get your ham license, so that if you get in trouble on the road, you can get a hold of us.
Right.
But now that's passe.
Yeah, that carrot's not there anymore. But think about this. Think about, everybody, just keep this in mind. What's the rough population of the United States?
350.
350 million. And the population of hams?
35.
No. How many hams in the United States?
70,000.
750,000. Right? So that is roughly 0.2%. So 1 out of 500. So, basically 1 out of 500 people in the United States is a ham. So we got to go out there and find the 1 out of 500 kids who is interested in this. If we get more than 1 out of 500, we are ahead of the game, and we continue to do that on an annual basis. Essentially replacing ourselves, replacing everybody who passes on. There's all these silent keys, and so the goal is to find the 1 in 500 kids who are interested, who have some, who basically, I would tend to believe that most of us got into ham radio because it was really cool. And independent. Most of us were probably, no, I see a no there. No. Okay. Functional. But I got into ham radio because I thought it was really cool. I was the science kid. I was the math kid. That's how I got into it. And did everybody grow up in the age of the telephone? Raise your hand if you grew up in the age of a telephone, right? You could always make a phone call, right? Okay, you might have to pay a little bit for long distance depending on when you grew up, but you could always make a phone call. And a phone call was always higher fidelity than a call on the radio, but it didn't mean that we weren't interested, right? The same way that before that, there were people who were interested in the scientific aspect, in the coolness aspect, in the you know, in the essentially for the reason of doing something different and interesting rather than doing something just because it was utilitarian, right? These are the same kids that we were, except that now they're growing up in a world where there's all this other stuff. It doesn't make what, you know, what this is any less interesting. It just makes it one of more things to find, to sort of like fight our way through. Go ahead, Carol. That hand looks awfully tired now.
That's okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. No problem at all. I kind of wonder, we have a lot of GMRS and FRS activity here in my area.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of kids, you know, that play on such radios. And I wonder if we're losing some of the youth to those services, because, you know, you don't have to take a test.
You know
All
what?
you gotta do is
You know what? My
pay-
philosophy is they were never going to be hams anyway, unless they
Right.
want to. You know,
Right.
I mean, because that's
Did
my
they even know that ham radio even existed? That was the thing.
Well,
Go ahead,
back when
Chris.
I was a kid, it was all CBers.
right,
Now,
Go
if
ahead.
you
Hey.
wanted to talk point to point, you'd be CBer.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, NFW. Go ahead, Chris.
So, you know, I see the GMRS, the FRS as a lot like the old CB was for us back in the 70s and 80s. It's also a gateway now to amateur. And here in Lakeview, I have a lot of young folks, kids, as well as young adults that are using GMRS because the CB is dead over here on this side of the Cascades. And so
Right.
GMRS is very much replacing what CB was. And so I've incorporated them and invited them to the club and found that they actually wanted to get their amateur license, but they were discouraged because they had nobody to associate with. And the GMRS was the easiest path for them. So now that they have somebody that they can, a club that they can get associated with, they have found a path forward. And we are learning that we can actually incorporate GMRS into our group, and we can use them as boots on the ground for those who don't want to get their amateur license. Use them in a manner as a ground truth. Use them from point to point for like your hospitals in that environment, for search and rescue, you know, small community stuff. Use your amateur radio stuff for more greater distance, more secure environment, digital stuff, that kind of stuff. You can use both in your clubs and not exclude one or the other. But GMRS is very much a gateway to amateur radio, much like CB was for a lot of us in the 70s and 80s.
It was for me, and I guess I don't mean to sound like I was being elitist or anything. I'm just saying that, you know, there's a pool of people, and I had a shortwave. I had CB as well, and it got me exposed to radio. A lot of people, they got into CB and they never went any further. Even if they knew ham radio existed, they didn't do anything with it. You know, they were never really interested. So yeah, it's good because it provides exposure, and I teach a lot of classes, and I actually just did one that started with 80 people. I had an online class over Labor Day where I had 156 people sign up from all over the country, and just over half of them actually showed up. And as of right now, we've got, I think, 16 licensees. So it's, you know, you tell them it's a lot of work, but a lot of them started with GMRS and said, I want to go further, right? So most of the people I find who do GMRS do not want to go any further. But for those who do, I think it's the same person that we all were at one point. And I think if we view it like that, say, you know what, I was in your position. This is what I did that I found interesting. All right, who else wants to go? And I figure we try to end by 7:30 if that's okay. And by the way, Chris, what is OOARC? You guys are a new club.
Yes, we are a new club over here in Lakeview. OOARC is the Oregon Outback Amateur Radio Club. And it's been a struggle. It's been a task. We have all of 5 members right now.
5 more than 0.
5 is more than 0. And like I said, it has been a struggle. It's been some politics played over here, and I've been doing my best to stay neutral on that. And because of that, we have stayed at a membership of 5 instead of 35. So,
well, keep working at it.
Yep, we'll get there.
And you're in Lakeview, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
we're
right.
about 2 hours east of Klamath Falls, you know, the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. There's a lake.
No, there's not.
Dry lake, no.
All right, who else wants to go?
We have 3 state parks. We can do POTA within 20 minutes of my house easily.
Nice.
Okay, so as far as your individual clubs, can you think of somebody who you might want to approach? This is not saying do it now or anything like that, but the next time you have the next time you meet, when you get out of here, you send an email that said, "Hey, have I got a job for you that you might really like?" Just kind of to keep that in mind, or somebody that you want, you know, me or Max or Russ or Frank to reach out to and say, "Yeah, you know, you might find this interesting." So just everyone keep that in mind. And Derek, are you there? DRK?
Yeah, I'm here.
So is this the same Derek that emailed Russ today? And then emailed
Yeah,
me?
that's
There you
correct.
Are. Hey.
I am that person.
So what's your story?
I literally got an email from our Aries group. Saw that there was potential interest from you all, that you needed volunteers. I am interested potentially in helping volunteer. I have a 4-year-old and 1-year-old, so I'm on a different spectrum than all of you. I want my son to be interested in ham radio. So I see your hand going up. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So that age, exactly. In your picture. So yeah, interested and curious. So I'm on the Portland metro area more, where I think Russ is with the Oregon Tualatin Valley Amateur Radio Club, though I just joined that club, so I'm not terribly involved yet, but looking to get more involved in the future.
That's okay. It's a really good club.
You said you are in Aardvark?
That's correct.
Oh, good.
I put you down Aardvark. And Derek, just so you know, Aardvark is a great club. You've made an excellent choice.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I will also say that Aardvark, this is another one of the cool things, provides something called the annual Mickley Berg Scholarship, which my daughter received either 2 or 3 times.
Oh, nice.
To go to college for $1,000, I think $1,000 a year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's and so you know Casey then, I'm sure. Casey.
I don't know that I've met everybody in person. I haven't attended a meeting yet. I paid my dues, but I need to go to a meeting first. So
yeah, I think Casey's the president now. Casey's
one coming up
Casey's
next
awesome.
week.
Yeah, I saw that, so I'll see if I can slide in there.
See you there.
Yeah,
Sounds good, Frank.
John is the president right now.
Oh, okay. It's not Casey. So Casey went down a little bit. He gave up his presidency or something, or maybe he's a secretary.
He was the secretary. I don't know.
He may still be. Yeah, he may still be.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, nice to meet you. I'm glad you could make it, Derek. And you know, I went through an entire. I have mine are 16 and 22, and they both went through the same elementary school. They went through middle school. They went through, I have a high schooler now. And, you know, I went through and all the classes as they went through, you know, elementary school. And I always went in and scheduled with their teachers a radio day where I'd go in and do a demonstration. I'd have somebody on the other end of the line and gave them all a chance to talk. I never got a single ham out of it, but at least they knew what it was. So
That's a pretty cool idea though. Yeah, that's awesome.
Use your kids as a stalking horse. You bet.
Exactly. All right, who else wants to go? We've got about 15 minutes left. And Eric just showed up too. Hi, Eric.
Sorry with the delay. Just got home finally.
All right. So who else has some thoughts or ideas or wants to just go and introduce themselves or their club or anything like that? That's kind of the purpose of us being here. Nothing else, huh? Well, okay. Mark, do you have anything else to add from the league's perspective? Not to put you on the spot or anything, but
Hold on. League perspective. No.
Nothing.
Everything
Okay.
is still status quo. I did get word. One more thing is working. The Hamfest application process is now actually doing what it's supposed to do. So if you send in the paperwork for Hamfest, it does go to where it's supposed to be and then gets out through the proper channels.
Nice. Okay.
That was kind of a mess for a while. I know we ran into snags with a number of them, but tried to catch them all. So that's working. Still working on DXCC. It's
well, actually, Mark, before you go on, I will say that that's actually quite important because a lot of clubs are the ones who put together applications for Hamfest and stuff.
Oh yeah, and that's how it kind of came up. I mean, honestly, it wasn't noticed that it wasn't working, you know, until some people were like, "Well, where's this? I haven't seen anything on the Hamfest." And you make a phone call like, "Well, I sent it in 3 times." Oh, something's broke. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go figure it out. You know, we had a good workaround. I mean, it looked right from the club perspective because you got the email back, and so everything looked right. But we just came up with a shortcut, you know, send it back to me, and we rounded around and got everything going. We did, you know, it was a delay on a few of them, which is unfortunate, but anyway, that part's still working. The updating to the website, however, is still broken. So there's no way to update, you know, like if you go to ARRL.org and do a search for Hamfests, they don't have access to that page to get to that. It's tied into the other membership system, and it's still kind of you know, broken. So one step at a time. It was a big hit, and unfortunately not really easy to repair like that.
So the other thing is for everybody here, remember that your club has a presence on the ARRL's website as well as whatever website that you have. We'd like to see, especially if you are a special service club, we need to see an annual report. It can be very, very simple. It can be nice and long. It doesn't matter to us. It's good if there's an annual report, just indicating what your club has done. Again, if you're a special service club, that means that it's a little more, you know, involved. The other thing about becoming a special service club is that every club can become a special service club, and it essentially really only makes you stand out as a club that is really serious about outreach and is willing to go out and, you know, stick your neck out there and say, look, you know what, we're really active with the public. Like for instance, we spearheaded a class, and you know, we were able to work with the school district or something and come up with a new program, something innovative. And by the way, Derek, can you see the picture I just put up there now?
Can.
I keep this, and my wife took this picture, and I obviously knew that she took it, but I really didn't think anything of it. And that is W7HER, who is my now 22-year-old extra class, former University of Oregon Duck, president of the U of O club for 3.5 years, and recipient of $60,000 in radio scholarships.
Wow. That is one proud dad too, right there.
Yep, that is. And
I
that's,
love it.
so that was during sweepstakes phone 2002. So, you know, if you get the kid, notice she's warming up the microphone for me.
Oh yeah.
I believe it made a nice little chew toy because I don't think she had much in the way of teeth yet.
Yeah.
Actually,
But,
that's what happens when I do the scouts, you know, when I put the scouts on the air, they speak into the mic on the top rather than onto the face of the mic. And I couldn't figure that out until I finally realized, oh, they're used to talking on the phone, and that's how they talk on the phone.
Yep, well, just like that.
Yeah, just like that,
Yeah.
rather than on the face of it.
So anyway, Derek, never too early to start, even if it seems silly, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. My son can't wait to talk on the radio. So
And he's
yeah.
he's the 4-year-old.
He's the 4-year-old. The
What's-
other one
what's-
just
what's
loves the
holding him
wiggly
back?
antennas.
What's holding him back?
Dad has to work on making contacts. So that's the big thing. I got to
Okay.
make sure my antenna's up and running right. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
on Dad to figure out.
Cool.
Very cool. All right. Anybody else with anything?
No. Scott, hey, I want to say thanks for doing this.
Yeah, you know,
It
I-
looks like we ended up with just Oregon folks, which is great.
That was the
It
plan.
did go to the whole division, so I
Yeah.
was a little nervous that maybe there would be some extra people dropping in, which would have been fine.
We wouldn't have kicked them out.
Yeah, it'd have been fine. That's just a component of our current mailing system. So, like, we can send to the division, we can't send individually. So
Yeah.
and
Well, I'm glad
know,
to see
I
all
would
these
like to
people
say-
from the other side of the Cascades. You know, we need a lot more people out there so we can get some more contacts.
Oh, can I?
Well, I
can
think-
I
You know,
thought you guys-
it's a big wasteland out there.
yeah.
You know,
I
Russ
thought you
does.
guys were the other side.
Yeah, Russ doesn't mean
Yeah.
wasteland. But
Yeah,
one
thanks.
but one thing that I can bring up actually is with regard, because you know, I also, for better or for worse, I get involved in all the MCOM stuff as well. You know, we have a section emergency coordinator. We do meetings for MCOM and things like that. And actually with all the fires, there was actually a
Yeah.
call out. There was actually a call out for people on the eastern side of the mountains to help out with dispatch, because the county dispatchers were completely overwhelmed and working 18-hour days and stuff. And there was at least one amateur who was, because of qualifications and stuff like that, actually hired as a temporary county employee and brought in to help out with dispatch.
Was that K7TWI?
Was first from Southern Washington, right,
Oh,
right,
no,
right near the
he's from
border.
Wheeler County.
Oh,
Yeah,
could
the
have
guy
been.
was out of Walla Walla. I can't remember his name off the top of my
Oh,
head right now.
hey Tyson,
Yeah.
Hey,
just- okay.
speak up, Tyson. Let's hear you. What do you got?
Well, yeah, so Stuart Bottom, who's our DC for District 3 over here,
Mr. Three.
he was neck deep in the fire in his area. Matter of fact, except for his buildings, his whole entire property burned.
No, the
Ugh.
brand new, the
Well,
big
the
big
buildings,
property.
the buildings were safe. They were able to wrap all the buildings, and he was working as for search and rescue at that point, and he sent out an email. They needed operators. They didn't care, as long as they could, run the mic. And anyway, I sent out a message, and it ended up going up into Eastern Washington, and we were able to get a guy headed out that way and helping out. And I think he operated for like 7 days. But because they were running, the emergency frequencies, he was able to become an employee at that point, and I think it was actually a state level, not county.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, because they can't take volunteers for that. So they had him fill out paperwork and signed him up, and I did have a talk with him afterwards, and he said it was a great experience, and he had a blast. It was a good deal for him,
And he got to help people.
and he got to help.
So-
Yeah, so it was pretty good.
And Carol,
Yeah, and along with that story, Cook County Search and Rescue volunteered their comms trailer for that event. The what was that, Lone Rock fire?
Yeah, Lone Rock.
Yeah, and Jim K7TWI out of Twickenham, little hamlet there, did go up to Condon and help out for a night, working radios up there as well. I don't think he did it more than just the one night. But yeah, so our search and rescue guys went over there, which are most of them were hams. They were just outside of our repeater range over there off the Round Mountain repeater, but they were using other ham repeaters, as well as, of course, the public safety stuff. So yeah, they were really busy there for quite a while.
so
Well, very
lots-
good. It's good to hear all these guys are making use of the ham radio over there. I know I used to go out there to Wallowa County for the extreme race. And there's no repeaters out. Well, there's maybe one repeater out there, but very sketchy coverage. So we did a lot of HF Winlink stuff there.
I work at the Ollicott station.
Oh,
now.
really? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm out at Ollicott, and I'm running HF and 2 meter from down there, and so I can do the WinLink, and I can also I can hit the repeaters. I got a 9700 with 100 watts of power that kind of bounce around the canyon a little bit. So that's a lot of fun.
Well, maybe I should sign up for this next year.
They're
That was
definitely-
a lot of fun. I was at I think it was Salt Creek or Salt Summit.
Salt Creek Summit.
I forget. It was Salt Creek Summit. Yeah.
All right, let's see. It's almost 7:30. Do we have anything else from anybody else who hasn't gotten to speak their piece yet or have any ideas?
I'd like to thank all you guys for showing up. And again, if we can just get some of these youth plugged in, it'd be a good thing, I think. So
And a big thing is that we need, we just need to make sure that we actually have people who we can contact who are in that position.
Yeah,
willing
we
to be-
need we need names and contact information as soon as we can get those folks on board.
and if you guys have any questions, at least I'm available. Just email me and I'll get back to you.
Does everybody have an ARL.net address?
I've got emails for. So did everybody did everyone here get my email directly from me? N7JI, ars.n7ji.
Yeah, I think I got mine from Max.
Okay.
It's a Gmail that I got from you, Scott.
ars.n7ji@gmail.com. So
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
I
please keep me
don't-
on the list.
Yeah, if I don't have your email address, I would really like it. And the same thing with, whoever whoever from your club is wanting to do this. The sooner we get them on the list, the sooner we can make good of this.
Scott, what's your best call sign, did you say?
Here, I'll send it out. ars.n7ji@gmail.com.
ARS?
ARS, amateur radio
Okay.
station, .n7ji.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
And
Mine's in chat for you there, Scott.
thank you. And I actually find that because there's no redirect or anything like that, I rarely have any trouble with it at all. So All right. Well,
Next time we're meeting is when?
well, typically we've been doing it every 3 months. So,
Okay,
Max,
December.
like sometime in December work?
Yep, that works for me.
So I'll be watching for the email.
And let me just make sure that everybody's there. And let's see. Anybody else with anything else? Nothing? Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody being here. And it's it's kind of heartwarming to see all these people. I appreciate you all for doing this and giving of your time. And the clubs are really the lifeblood of ham radio because they're where people get together and share stories and share ideas and come up with good ideas and come up with bad ideas sometimes and figure out what's good and what's bad. So again, I really appreciate it. And Cindy, you didn't say anything yet either.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
I've
said
ever heard,
something in chat.
I don't think I've ever seen an hour and a half when Cindy didn't say something, and because she's usually so full of good stuff to talk about.
I gave you Todd's call sign in chat.
Yeah, okay. Terp. Yeah. Okay. Well. All right. Well, that being said, if there's nothing else to throw out there, if anyone else wants to give me their email address, if you put it in the chat before we shut it down, I'll get it and add you to the email list. And Max, I know this is presumptuous of me, but have you been taking any notes or anything?
A little bit, yes.
Yeah, okay. More so than I have. So
Yeah.
I figured, I know you're pretty fastidious about that kind of thing. So
Yep.
I should not presume so, but it's dangerous to do so.
Well, and this has been recorded, so.
Yeah, well, that too. So yeah, but an easy distillation is good to have. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody. And if you happen to be a really big CW aficionado like myself, I'll see you at 8:00 for the CWT, this week's 8 p.m. CWT on 80 meters.
I might try it with FL Digi, but not by key.
Yeah, okay. Well, I like being a bit of a speed demon. So, 35 words a minute is my comfort zone.
Nice.
So
Did you say 8:00?
8:00.
I'll try.
Yeah, and it's from 8 to 9, and the activity starts on 20, shifts to 40, and then shifts to 80.